And good evening, folks. Fingers crossed you're all hearing me and life, the universe, and everything is doing well. I'm just making sure that things are doing what they ought to be doing in the other channels, and it does appear that things do seem to be working. So if you are in the chat tonight in YouTube, there is every chance, if you are in the None 2K channel or the Voice of Freedom channel, I think that we will be able to see you in the chat, which will be just lovely. The other Facebook people, I think you'll pop up in our chat here too. And if you are watching on Rumble, I am keeping that chat right in front of me now. So you can go and drop your questions in there and I'll be able to pass them along to Cass as well. Hope you're all doing well. Who was first in the room tonight? I want to think it was Dave O tonight. Let me scroll back up the top and see who's who in the room. It was indeed Dave-O, getting in very early, mate. Nice to have you on board, and thank you very much for your continued support, brother. Really appreciate it. Here's a nice question we will have to get to Cass with. Thanks for Toxic. The tax investigation. Yeah, what was going on with all that tax department stuff? I know some people were handed all that information in Canberra. A couple of politicians were very interested in it. I don't know how much further it's gone. I haven't heard another word from them, if I'm honest. So we'll have to have a bit of a look and see whether or not Cass can help us out with that. If you notice at the top of the chats, or if in fact in the descriptions, you'll find a link to a video that Cass did in the last 24 hours or so. In reply to Amanda Carroll, who has written a fairly broad post that is defamatory on a number of levels. Cass has made a video reply at this point. Anyway, we'll get to talking about that, and we'll ask her about that tax investigation. If you want to go and check out her video, I have posted the link in the chat here. I will post it again in the main chat right now. And that's shot in there, so you can go and have a bit of a look at that and find out what she has to say. Yes, Trump has been making some fairly interesting noises lately. Biden has, been making unintelligible grunts, as is his way, and we will see what transpires over the next couple of weeks. There is a lot of questioning going on about the financial system at the moment, and that's in part the reason why we have so many folks interested, I think, in what we're going to be discussing tonight from financial services. Sandy and Baz in the room. Love you both. Hello to Aussie Sue. I think I saw Sunflower in the room there. Yes, there she is. And Kate's in the room. Pegs, all the usual crew. Thank you very much for popping in and keeping us here at the Voice of Freedom in your hearts. We really appreciate that. You can go to our website, Voice of Freedom, or VoFHQ.com. If you want to be a member, please be a member. It's very easy, from $1.25 a day. Or if you want to make a donation, we could really use that too. There is a donate button there. Vince will be happy that I've remembered it. Now let's move on. Something much nicer to talk about is superannuation, particularly if you happen to have a big nest egg. But if you don't have a big nest egg, you've only got a little tiny one, what can you do with it? There is all this supposed risk, damage, surprise coming in the financial system, and that little money that you might have been counting on for whatever reason coming up into your retirement may not be available to you. You want to turn it into something that's a bit more controllable from your end. Let's call that gold and silver. Well, if you've been following the Voice of Freedom for the last 6, 8, 9 months, you would know that that's all we really talk about here, gold and silver as a good alternative to put your cash into. And the reason we push it is because there is a wonderful lady based out of Canberra running a company really that does everything for the freedom movement. This company in particular, Freedom Financial Services, is a non-profit or not-for-profit business, and any profits that are made are turned back into the freedom movement, including the Voice of Freedom. She's been known to help me out on more than one occasion. So let's bring her in. Cass Smith, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight and answering a few questions. You're looking very Australian tonight in your green and gold trackie.
Yeah, I just thought I'd say up front that I don't look my usual professional self. I've just finished at the gym. So I'm a bit disheveled, and I've actually got my green and actually this is my ACT rep clothes, but behind you, you'll see my Australian jumper on the wall.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that you've represented Australia.
Yeah, I did it in my spare time. Also broke a Guinness Book of Records in my spare time, and I wrote a book.
Wow, you are a lady of many, many talents. So all right, can't go any further. Tell us about the Australian representation and that shirt and why it's so significant behind you.
Yeah, so I joined dragon boating quite a few years ago, and I just loved it from the day I started it. And within the second year of me joining dragon boating, I made the Australian team. We went to Korea, came third in the world in quite a few different categories. We went to Hong Kong, came second in the world and third in the world. Absolute amazing time. Then I came back, and our local Canberra dragon boating team decided to go in the Guinness Book of Records, and for the longest distance in a dragon boat. It was 186 kilometres in 24 hours. No sleep, nothing, just paddling 24 hours. Amazing
that
feeling.
Up and down Lake Burley Griffin?
Round and round and round and round and round.
Wow.
To the point of hallucinations and all sorts of things. It was radical. Absolutely fantastic.
Did you get to have, 5 minutes rest every 3 hours or something?
Every hour and a half we pulled over to go to the toilet. By the end of it, we couldn't even walk. We'd be carried off the boat, put on the toilet, and carried back to the boat. It was fantastic. Glad we did it. But at the end of it, so many people were injured, and I was injured, and that was the end of my Australian rep. I was out for about 6 years with severe injury.
Oh, wow.
But I've made my way back to fitness now, and I would have gone in the Australian team. That was my absolute goal in 2021 until my little Canberra team decided that the dirty ones would be put in a separate boat.
Oh. The unjabbed were to row in a different boat.
And I, being Canberra, the most vaccinated city in the world, 110% vaccination rate we got to, I would have been the only one.
Yeah.
And so I just simply never turned up to training again.
Wow. That's very disappointing.
Yeah, it was. But when I moved to Queensland, there's a good team there that I'll join, and I'm sure they're not going to have those sort of ridiculous Canberran type mandates. They mandated themselves. It wasn't even required in dragon boating. It's an outdoor sport. My Canberra team mandated it themselves.
Wow. A lot of public servants in that team, were there?
Yeah, mainly.
Yeah, mainly, of course. Well, you'll find good people on the Gold Coast, and I know on the Sunshine Coast. I'm not sure if she's still involved, but Lisa Curry-Kenny now, I've forgotten her last name now, but she was heavily involved with dragon boat racing for many years, still is, I believe.
Yeah.
And I know someone who knows her very well, so I might be able to hook you up there if you don't already know. Yeah, very exciting sport. Not good if you've got bad knees. I wouldn't.
No, it works every part of your body, your legs. A lot of people think it's shoulder work, but it's not. It's legs, it's abs, it's shoulders, it's everything.
Yeah, and you do it, most of it on your knees.
Oh, you're seated. No, you're seated.
Are you?
Yeah, you're seated.
Oh, okay. There you go. I thought you were sort of like one knee down.
No,
outrigger boat style. Yeah, right.
You're only one knee down when the boat's about to collapse and you're trying to jump out before it collapses.
Roger that. All good. All right. Well, speaking of getting out before things collapse, we have some significant doubts about the fiat financial system. In fact, I was sent a document today, which I should have had ready and prepared. It was a news article coming from, I think it's a madworldofnews.com. That is suggesting that a notice has gone out saying that the fiat financial system will end at some stage tomorrow morning, our time.
Shit.
Now,
in which case we're too late with this show, Carl. We may as well just have a few drinks and go.
Yeah, it's been great. I'll see you at the vault. You look after your wine there. So assuming that it doesn't happen tomorrow, there is still time. to convert silver to gold. Now, if it's superannuation and you've only got a little bit like me, then you've probably got a fee problem more than anything else when it comes to getting your money out. Now, if you have say $120,000, $130,000 in superannuation, you can probably go it yourself. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, so I get asked that a lot. What is the appropriate balance for an SMSF? There's no legal requirement. There is no hard and fast rule. The tax office and myself used to say, around $200,000. And the reason for that is the fees. So a lot of people don't know that the superannuation funds you're in are charging you an absolute mozza. This has been a bugbear of mine for the last 20 years in the financial industry. The superannuation funds, and I'm happy to say this, I don't care about defamation, they are lying. Because my definition, I was raised Catholic, don't hold it against me, but my definition of a lie also includes when you don't say something. So a lot of people try and get around lying by not saying something, but to me, if it's something you should say and you don't, that's still a lie. So what the superannuation funds have been doing is that they will tell you on your statement that you are only paying $150, $200 a year in fees. That's a lie. Because in the underlying portfolio, they are charging you between 1% to 2%. And they're not telling you that. And this has gone on for years. And even after the Royal Commission into Corruption in the financial industry, this wasn't resolved. I had a client, to give you an example, she had a $2 million portfolio. She was running an SMSF through my firm and she kept complaining about the fees. Sometimes the wealthier you are, the more you complain about fees. We were only charging her $3,000. Yeah. And she said to me, Catherine, I'm leaving. I'm going to, I can't remember which super fund, but it was one of the majors, Australian Super, Rest, Host, one of them. She said, I'm leaving because their fees are a lot cheaper. And I said, how much are they charging you, Lorraine? And she said, $11 a month, $131 a year, if my maths is right, on $2 million portfolio. I said, Lorraine, that is a load of crap. And I said, do you give me authority to ask them myself? So she let me, she signed me on as the advisor, and I emailed this company. They had emailed her that $131 or $11 a month. They'd emailed that. They'd put it in writing that their administration fee was $11. So then I went back and I said, okay, I'm her financial planner. I want to know all fees, management expense ratios, profit ratios, indirect costs, and I named like about 30 different names for all their different, the way they hide it, the way they disguise it. Yep. Once they knew I was onto them and they couldn't lie, they replied and said, oh, yeah, okay, it's $24,000.
Wow.
So they went from $11 a month to $24,000. And this is what the super funds do. They tell you your admin fee on your statement, but underneath, there's a whole lot of other fees that they're not telling you about. Some of the super funds now are disclosing it. They'll still say the $200, $300 on the front, but then in the very, very last page, in the very little box, in tiny little writing, they'll say, oh yeah, and we also charge you 1.5% of your portfolio. But most people don't see that. So the average fee on the market, and the tax office have confirmed this, is around 1.2 to 1.5%. So that means a super fund with 200,000 and our fee is about 3,000, that's 1.2%. So that's why we've always said, about 200,000 is where it works. What's happened over the pandemic and everything that's happened now with people waking up to the financial system is that people have come to me and said, well, I've only got 150,000, I want to do it. I've said, yeah, okay, just bear in mind. And we do bring our fees down as much as we can for the smaller balances, but there's so much work, we can't just bring them down too much. So yeah, I started doing it for people for 150,000 and then people with 120,000. I said, yeah, okay. I said, as long as you're aware of the fees. And then 100,000. I said, yeah, okay, as long as you're aware of the fees. And then 80,000. Yeah, okay, as long as you're aware of the fees. The smallest one we've done is actually $18,000.
Wow.
And yeah, and we let the lady know, like 18,000, and do a quick calculation. But our fees, like as I said, we have a minimum fee, but then there's also an audit fee, the tax office fee, and an ASIC fee. So this lady would be up for $2,000 a year on 18,000. It's 11%. And I said to her, I said, are you sure? But she wanted to do Bitcoin, and she'd been making 200 to 300% profits in crypto. So she said, I don't care. I will pay those fees because I can make far more doing it myself. So we did that. We did 18,000. We've done 50,000. But really, I believe around about 100,000, you don't really want to do it with any less than that because of the fees. So a lot of people, Carl, when we've been talking about this, a lot of people have come to me wanting to do it. And I've unfortunately had to say, look, you've only got 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, it's really not going to work. And the first thing I always say to people is, have you got a like-minded friend, relative, sibling, someone in your Stand in the Park group or in your whatever group you're in, that you can join with? Because an SMSF can have up to 6 people. So if like Tom has got 40,000 and Mary's got 60,000 and Joe's got 40,000, you can add all that together and now you've got a viable SMSF.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people, go talk to your good friends, your like-minded siblings, fathers, brothers, sisters, and come back to me. And a lot of people have done that. They've said, yeah, okay, great. And then they've come together. But unfortunately, a lot of other people have said that they're probably like me, a black sheep, lone wolf. Black sheep, lone wolf, yeah, that works.
Yep. Either one works.
A loner where you're the only one in your circle, in your family, in your friends, and your colleagues that thinks the way we do. So some people just simply haven't had anyone that they could join with. So that is the point of tonight, is to talk about, well, if you don't have anyone else to join with, what can we do? We can do it, but what I really wanted to do is really explain the complexities so that you're fully informed, everyone watching is fully informed. And if they still want to do it, then we can try and get some groups together. So basically strangers. So that's what I wanted to get into, if that's all right, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. So is it an easy thing? Can you just band a group of strangers together? And if so, how many do you need? Do you have like a threshold of once you hit, say a total of 140 or 180 or $200,000? And if that's 2, 4, 6 or 8 people banding together, that's what it happens to be? Or do you have an ideal number?
Yeah, so it's a maximum of 6, but I wouldn't recommend 6. I think 2 to 3 to 4 at most is more workable. When we first started this, I was a bit gung-ho. I was willing to do it for anybody. And we had a group of about 30 people wanting to buy a property. So they all came together. They were sort of strangers, but they knew each other. They were in a community, 30-odd people. So they set up about 6 funds, 4 in this one, 5 in this one, 6 in this one, 4 in this one, 5 in this one. And we did it all, enormous amount of work. And then what we found is only one of those funds ended up going the whole way, because as soon as people started like putting their money together, money is a money and health, very, very personal, very tricky issue. And as they started realizing that they were coming together, then they were like, oh, no, this person doesn't want to join that person, switch that oh, God, it ended in a nightmare. And that's when I really got burnt by the bigger groups coming together. So what I'd say is 2 to 3 people. You can have 6, but 2 to 3 people is ideal. 4 maybe. 4 could be 2 couples. So maybe you've got 2 couples. The couples on their own have only got 60 to 80. but join with another couple with another 60 to 80, you've now got 160. So anything over probably 150,000 with a few people coming together would be feasible.
Okay. All right. Do you need to know the people that you're coming together with?
Well, that's the point of this show, is to bring people who don't know to get each other together. But, and this is where I wanted to explain the complexities, because some of the people I've dealt with that you've sent me, Carl, I have put them on a list, small balance list, but I've been very, very reluctant to go down this path because of the complexities I'll get into. But now with the financial system crashing the way it is, look, I just want to do anything I can to help. So you don't have to know each other, but before you go into this, you need to trust each other. So this is going to be like a bit of a survivor experience. How can you throw your money together in with someone you don't know, but you have to trust? So I'll give you an idea of why you need to trust each other. Is your money's coming together into a self-managed super fund. Your balance will be accounted for separately, so that you still know what yours is, theirs is, the other person's is. You're not losing your balance to the other people, but you are putting it all into one bank account. You will all have to decide what you're going to invest in. So you can't roll it over and then Tom wants to go and do gold, Mary wants to go and do Bitcoin, and Fred wants to go off and do property. That's not going to work. You're all in it together. So if you're all coming together, say 3 of you, and you all want to do gold, that's pretty good. That's pretty easy, because you're all wanting to do the same thing. Then where it gets more complex is there is financial things, like all the documents that we will send you to set up, and even ongoing every year we do accounting and member statements and minutes and all sorts of 50 pages of complex documents to be signed. All of you will have to sign off on them. When there's a transaction on the bank account, like just you want to pay our admin fee, Macquarie Bank, you can do the transaction. All of you in the fund, 3 or 4 of you or however many, need to click on the button and approve the transaction. So there's a lot of, so if people are going to come together, they can be strangers, but you'll need to come together. And what I'm proposing is anyone that wants to do this to email you again, Carl, and I'll start a spreadsheet of just those that are interested in this. Then hold some Zoom meetings where everyone can like introduce themselves, a bit like speed dating, and then go, okay, well, these people are in the same location. Same location would be good because you can at least get together. So maybe
that's right. You can have coffee.
Yeah, so I was about to say, these people can meet for coffee and see if they like each other and want to do this. Other people, if they're more remote, we can have separate Zoom meetings. And I'm not going to do it all because I can't, but I will introduce people and go, okay, if you want to go off and date, financially date, and then come back to me when you've decided you're comfortable working together with these people. So yeah, it's not going to be for everybody, but there might be some people out there that just say, look, I really want to do this no matter what. And they're willing to work through those complexities.
So Kate's got a question. What are all the things that can go wrong?
It's not that they can go wrong because it's all set up very, very officially and professionally. And so, for example, the Macquarie Bank transactions, let's say you do get in with someone who's not above board and they go, oh, I'm going to take out $50,000 out of the bank account. They can initiate that transaction. You're going to get a code to your mobile phone going, what? What's this $50,000? And you're going to say no. So they're not going to be able to take the money. So it can't go wrong. It's just going to be a bit of a pain in the ass if you're all working together and then I can imagine, like we've had cases ourselves where the SMSF, one of the members just disappears or won't answer their email and won't answer their phone calls, and it's like, well, then the whole fund gets stuck because this person's not cooperating. The only other risk would be the gold and silver, because obviously you hold that personally.
Yes,
But
I was
even
getting to that. So,
yeah, but even
so
then,
if
I'd
you
suggest
do this, your money goes into one big pile. That, as I understand it from Macquarie Bank, can go direct to the bullion dealer of your choice and be split up in whichever fashion the group so chooses, a percentage, gold and silver, or what other precious metals they choose. Is that right?
yeah, exactly. And then what I'd suggest there is then each member just holds their own. Let's say Mary's got 60,000 and Tom's got 40,000. You buy the rough quantities and Mary holds the 40,000 and Tom holds the 40, and so on, so that
Yep.
you're not trusting someone else with your gold. So it is workable as long as, and unfortunately, and this is another area where some of the clients that we deal with, particularly off Voice of Freedom and at some of the other channels, is that they don't want to be involved in the system. Unfortunately, SMSF is still completely in the system. It's still better than leaving it where it is in the online super funds, host and rest, and all of those, but it's still in the system. We still need to report it every year. There's tax returns, there's compliance, there's all that rah, and you can't avoid that.
And can the government just turn up on your doorstep and audit your little pile of gold and silver
No, they don't.
super fund?
They don't do that. So an SMSF has an auditor. A lot of people are afraid of that, but the auditor is actually a friendly auditor. The one we use, I've been working with for about 12 years. She's a good friend of mine. We've worked together for so long. All she does as a way of audit is she's just checking the paperwork. She's looking over the financial statements we've done and checking the invoices and checking the photo of the gold to prove you've still got it, and then she just ticks it off. The idea of the auditor, I guess the ATO have outsourced the audit to the auditors. They are required to report breaches. So if you take your gold, rip it out, spend it, run off to the hills, the auditor will have to report you. But the idea of the auditor, if you've just done a few silly mistakes, is that she will work with you to go, okay, well, we've got to fix this. So her goal is to get it to the point where if the tax office come and look at it, everything's okay. Yeah. So it's a cross check.
Okay, so this could work for people who are already in a body corporate environment, for instance. So you're already dealing with people who own the properties where you're living. If you just happen to fluke that you happen to be watching this show and start talking about it over bacon and eggs around the pool tomorrow morning, then that's a way of coming together. I guess you can talk to others about it who may not be as awake yet, but who might be concerned. And the idea of getting into gold and silver will help them. Point them to this video. Obviously, it'll be up on the websites and Cass's website as well, or her channel on YouTube, just Cass Smith. You'll be able to find her videos there as well. If I was coming together with a group of strangers, I don't think I'd have too many problems as long as I had my gold and silver in my possession and theirs was in theirs. The frustrating part would be one person in the team letting the paperwork down. So that's where the audit issue is going to get you caught. So what can be the downside of having a member who is delinquent, if you like, in their responsibilities to the rest of the SMFS group?
It can get really messy. So I can just give you an example. My ex-husband, when we split, hope he's not watching this, for some reason, he wanted to try and hold it over my head and just delay things. He just wouldn't sign off on the super documents. I was actually trying to pay him out, just saying, mate, you got 200 whatever thousand here. I want to pay you out. I'm going to send it to your other fund. You just need to sign this and I give you all your money. And he wouldn't, and he wouldn't, and he wouldn't. And we couldn't lodge the tax returns. We couldn't lodge anything because he wouldn't sign anything. Yeah, it was really messy. We eventually got him off. The auditors' help. We managed to do legal mumbo jumbo and basically say, well, he's not cooperating, so we're just going to pay him out anyway. And I transferred the money over to his fund. But it was just messy. And you can fall into non-compliance. So this is the scary bit. The non-compliance, if you really are non-compliant, the penalty is 50% of your super.
Wow.
So let's say you got 100,000, the penalty can be 50,000. And they can actually levy that on you personally, not just on the super fund. But before anyone gets too scared, in my 20 years of doing this, I've actually only seen that levied twice. And both times it was serious non-compliance. Other times I was extremely non-compliant. Back the day ago, I think I've mentioned on your previous shows, Carl, I got into significant business trouble. I went bankrupt.
Yep.
You're not allowed to be a self-managed super fund trustee if you're bankrupt. Because I was bankrupt, I ripped lots of money out of my super fund. I did all sorts of terrible, terrible things because at that stage I didn't care. A bit like a lot of people at the moment, going down, don't care.
Yep.
So I was more non-compliant than any of my clients I've ever seen. And in the end, didn't even get in trouble with the tax department. I didn't lodge for 4 years. And then finally I lodged it, brought it all up to date, said, look, I'm really, really sorry. I'll pay the money back. And that was it. They just made me pay the money back with a reasonable interest rate and no penalties. So the tax office is, in cases of SMSF non-compliance, their primary focus is to get you back on track. Because at the end of the day, if you rip out your super, you're only ripping off your future self.
Yep.
You're not ripping off the government or the tax department. You're ripping off your future self. So the tax office really don't go out of their way to penalise. It's only if you really, like if you rolled over your super into the bank account, pulled it out, spent it on all your personal expenditure and said, F you to the tax department, yeah, they'll come after you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But if people come together and do this and it just gets a bit messy and narky, you wouldn't get those penalties. It will just get messy to wind up, to wrap up, to roll out. So that's why it's important if you come together that you feel really comfortable with the people that you're coming together with. A good degree of IT, computer skills, literacy is good. We do a lot of things by DocuSign.
Right. Yeah.
We've had lovely, lovely, lovely people come to us and say, I really, really want to do it, but I don't have email and I don't use internet banking and I don't use MyGovID. That's okay. But I don't, I won't do anything. I won't do anything on the phone. I won't do anything on the computer. We're like, we can't do it.
It's too
SMSF
hard.
is not you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. SMSF, Macquarie Bank, every transaction, you get a code to your phone to authorize it. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
And it's for your protection, two-factor identification. It's for your protection. So, yeah, people who do this have got to have a reasonable level of IT ability and the willingness to be in the system, because it is still in the system.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let me have a bit of a flick here. I've got a couple of questions that have popped up. Neville wanted to know if your muscles were melted. That's the reason that you were injured for 6 years after your 24-hour paddle. And what insane fool wanted you to paddle for 24 hours? That would be the Guinness people, I guess.
Yeah, it was the Guinness. Oh, well, my team just wanted to break the record. So I did bursitis in both shoulders and tendonitis in both elbows.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, painful. Here's a great question from Sandy. Now, Sandy, we've been showing pictures of Sandy. I don't know if you've been watching for the last couple of nights. There's a picture of Sandy. She's the one on the right.
Is it a donkey?
Yes, that is baby Baz. We can show you the real Baz. That's a real size donkey he's standing beside too. So, yeah.
Is this from the donkey farm?
This is, in fact, from the donkey sanctuary.
Yeah,
yes.
I spoke to Sandy this week.
There you go. So Baz and Sandy from the donkey factory. She has a great question. Can you please ask about purchasing pink Argyle diamonds as an SMSF? Now, I'm not sure if it was Sandy who sent me an email during the week or last week about this. A very good question. The Argyle mine closed down. There are no more pink diamonds. So does that mean that if you could invest in pink diamonds, is it a good investment like silver or gold?
Yeah, look, I really know a lot about gold because it's got a 6,000-year history. You can research it. You can look back in the records. Diamonds hasn't got as much research behind it. I think if you could absolutely be sure of the legitimacy of the diamonds, it would be a good investment. But my concern with diamonds is it's pretty easy to like fake a diamond. So I certainly wouldn't be buying it online or through any dodgy dealer. But if there's someone out there that's reputable, licensed to deal in it, that would be okay. But then also you've got the same issue when it comes to selling them. Like, so gold, you could have ABC Gold, Ainsley Bullion Gold, Good as Gold, any of the gold. It's got their brand name on it, but it's still gold. And if you take it to any dealer, they can put it on a machine and test the legitimacy of the gold. I presume you can do that with diamonds, but I just think they're going to be
there is a test.
Yeah, they'd be a little bit harder to sell because there's not like not like diamond dealers in every state like there is gold dealers.
And precious diamond dealers like that, like you wouldn't take this to your average jeweler and expect to get, probably a fair valuation, because how often are they dealing with pink argyle diamonds?
Exactly, and that's why I've steered away from
so many varying different qualities. Yes, it's pink, but when you look at it through this magnifying lens under that light, at this degree, you see all the cracks through it. So it's not really worth anything because, it's got a shattered inside. Just because you can't see it in the right light doesn't make it worth anything. So,
and the other issue is the audit. If it's in an SMSF, every year the assets have to be valued.
Oh, yes.
And that's at your cost. So gold is easy because you can just look it up on the gold. All of the dealers have the gold prices. So it's the auditors we just revalue it ourselves. For our clients, we just look at the price and revalue the assets. With something like that, you'd have to pay a valuer like every year. So I'd prefer to stick to gold and silver.
Yeah, cool. We mentioned the tax investigation. That was something we started off a couple of months ago now, I suppose. Through contacts, I know that Malcolm Roberts' office was interested in seeing more about it, and so too Mr. Rennick's office. I don't know what has ever come from that. Have you ever heard anything further back around that?
Nope.
It's all gone very quiet.
It's still there. The ABN is still there. Everything's still there.
Yeah. Somebody sent me a weird ABN the other day, which I sent to you. This one. Don't get too excited about this one, folks. You tell me that this is a super fund that's been set up.
Yeah, it's called the Trustee for Nasara Jasara Super Fund. That's just an SMSF. So the fun thing about an SMSF is you can name it anything you want. We have so many funny names on our client list. It's hilarious. You can name it anything you want. So that's just someone naming their super fund that. It's nothing untoward.
Sneaky bastards. Got a lot of people very excited when they saw that one. Here's a question from Samantha. Can the SMSF that you put together on behalf of a family be placed in a trust?
No, the SMSF is a trust in its own right. It's a special type of trust called a self-managed superannuation fund, which is a type of superannuation trust. It can't be put on under any other sort of trust.
Okay, cool. Sorry, Samantha, I might have got that one out of sync. I don't know what we were talking about when you wanted to explain how that works, or we can read up more information about it. Cass's website's a good place to start on YouTube, just Cass Smith. Just scrolling to see if I can get a few more, if there are any more I've missed here. Can we invest? Oh, yeah, here we go. That's a good question from Samantha. Can we invest in cheaper metals other than gold and silver, things like tin and copper?
So there's palladium and platinum, but they're actually more expensive. Once again, when it comes to something like copper, I've looked into it, and there's absolutely a good research behind what may happen to the price of copper in the future. But where, you can buy it from Bunnings. Where are you going to store it? In your backyard. Then when you want to sell it, let's say you've bought copper pipes, tin copper, copper sheets, copper this, copper, where are you going to sell it? It's going to be really difficult to find a market to go, I've got tin, maybe on eBay and things like that. So, I mean, I think copper may be something for a future if someone's just got spare room in their backyard that they want to store a whole lot of copper. But I don't think it's right for a SMSF, once again, because every year you're going to have to value it. And that's going to be really hard to find value.
There isn't a running market on it, yeah.
No. But for the future, like if you put spare money in your own name, yeah, by all means get something like that. But, yeah, difficult to resell.
Pamela N wants to know, for those that pull their money together and then everyone buys their value in gold and silver, what would you then just divide the fees, though the cash in the account would be zero?
No, you always need to leave some money in the bank account for ongoing fees. Otherwise, you'll be in a position you've got to sell some gold like every time we issue a bill. That's not feasible. So everyone rolls their money in together, buy the gold and silver, leave $5,000 in the bank account. The fees do basically get broken up in proportion of your balance. And our computer systems just do that. It's just the way it works. So you just pay our fee out of the Macquarie bank account, and our system divides it between everybody.
Yeah, okay. That makes it pretty simple. And that, I imagine, is a compliance policy, always having money in that account, so that...
I mean, you don't have to. It's not a rule, but I know the tax office will look very badly upon you. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, or the tax office come after people who have rolled everything over and closed the bank account, because the tax office is immediately going to go, well, what's happened to the money? Someone's got a really interesting comment here. Sunflower, banks say no to cash out from June.
Many banks have been trialling no cash out in certainly Tasmania, Victoria, and parts of regional New South Wales. I have heard there is a considerable push now. Businesses, coffee shops particularly, putting up signs saying we are going cashless. People are urged to push back against that. Take your business somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And if you can't, buy a cup of coffee for the dollars in your pocket, then buy a bloody thermos and take a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I mentioned this on my podcast today. There was Max Egan was telling me in America they had about 140 people go through Walmart all on the same day, fill their trolley to the brim, go to the cashier scans it all through, and then they bring out cash. And when the cashier said, we don't accept cash, they went, oh, sorry, I'm just going to go down the road to Kmart instead. Leaving Walmart just in absolute chaos with all these goods they've got to restock back on the shelves and wasted, frozen. And and then they changed their policy and went and removed the cash only, no cash. So we've got to do things like that. Just don't support businesses that are going cashless. Don't go to coffee shops that it won't accept your cash. Just don't go to supermarkets. If we don't stand up to this, we're done. We're done.
Yeah. I agree.
It's up to us. It's up to us from here on in. So I've got an interesting story as well. Sorry, Carl. The day that ANZ announced that they were going cashless in certain branches, I went, well, this will be interesting. And that was just before I went to Mexico. And I went, well, I'm going to travel. I want to get some cash out. So I pulled up at ANZ and went in and said, can I have 10,000 cash out, please? Ready for my argument. I always have my phone on record. Ready for the argument. And they said, yes, of course. And gave me the 10,000, no questions asked.
Wow.
And then I went, that was really weird. So I drove past Westpac and there was a 5-minute park right in front of Westpac. So I pulled in and I went into Westpac and I said, can I have 10,000 cash, please? Yes, sure. No questions asked. So that was the day after the big hoo-ha about ANZ all over the media. So I don't know whether the banks had got the message from top down, hey, take it easy on people wanting cash. Because I think the no cash was adding to the panic, so more people wanting cash. So it was really weird that day, because I've had so much trouble and so many other people have had it as well.
Yeah.
What happened that day where both banks just went, of course, not one question.
Well, I know people with experience in the NAB that wasn't the case at all. In fact, the only way that they could get the amount of cash out and they wanted, and I think it was something like 15,000, was if they upped their daily transfer limit, and instead of making a cash payment or a cash withdrawal, they did it electronically when they went and bought whatever it is they needed the money to go and buy. I think it was a car from memory. But the bank, which was located in the city in Brisbane, said we can't give you any more than $5,000.
Yeah. I've had so much trouble in the past, but this time was just really weird. So I might go in and try it again just to see what they're doing now.
Yeah, well, be interesting. The banking system does seem to have altered its practices a little bit. They're trying to be nice, well, nicer, I would have thought, to the people in some instances. They haven't quite started the, cup of coffee, glowing sunsets and hugging advertising campaign yet, but I'm sure it's not far from our screens. There is a lot of toxic stuff on our screens at the moment, and what we're trying to do here, I would hope, is not scare anybody, Cass. We're not trying to scare people. We're trying to give them an opportunity to protect themselves, if nothing else. Given the way that gold and silver have been appreciating recently, your asset is going to go up in value, I would say faster than anything you'll get sitting in a super fund at the moment, simply because of the drain on that profit made through the hidden fees that Cass was explaining earlier. So if it is something that you want to do and you haven't got enough yourself to go it alone, then by all means email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I will put you in touch with Cass. She'll start the sheet and start linking you together by region. And I think that's great. You'll be able to get together, start on Zoom, and then maybe there's a coffee in your future somewhere, or a meet up in a park, and decide whether or not you can actually do this together. And
so
undertake.
In that email, just mention how much you've got and where you are, what location,
what part of the world you're in.
Yeah, so that I can, quite obviously, if someone's in the same location, we can go, okay, great, you lot meet up. And then those that don't have anyone in the same location, I can start linking up digitally. Yeah.
So I think that's the best way forward. We can help folks who want to do this and save on fees all round. So when you band together, you're paying the one fee essentially to get all the amounts out, or are you paying, if there was 3 people involved, are there 3 different sets of fees being paid?
No, just one fee. That's the whole point of coming together. 2,200 to set up. If you're on your own, you're paying that. If you've got 3 or 4 people together, it's still 2,200.
Yep. So you defray those costs. That's more money in your pocket, more gold and silver in your pocket down the track, if that's the way you should choose to go. Do you want to say anything further? I have mentioned, and I've posted up in the chats here, and I think it's in the description of the videos too, that you have made a video to address Amanda Carroll's quite outrageous and defamatory email or posts that she put up a little while ago. I can say that with great confidence because I have spoken to her about those, and she admitted that she did put them up. She also told me while we were speaking that day that she had taken them down. Unfortunately, others may have taken them and shared them around in other places. I'm not sure if that is the case, but you've posted a video up. Do you want to add anything further to that?
Yeah, just like if you've got any doubts about our integrity because of what she said, go and watch the video that I've put on Cass Smith YouTube. I think I've addressed it quite well. Professional, but just explain my side of the story, because as we always know, there's 2 sides to the story and the truth is somewhere in the middle. The fact that I'm willing to go to any mediation anywhere or have a third party. Even you, Carl, you can get us both on the show. Michael Gray Griffiths has offered the same. Get us both on the show and let her tell her side, and you be the judge. Well, not you, Carl, but public be the judge, because, it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, have a look at that video if you've got any doubts. And what I can say is that we've set up I think we're up to 750 SMSFs set up in the last 6 months. And we generally get nothing but glowing feedback. Occasionally people get frustrated because the outgoing super fund can delay the setup. Like, we have now 2 dedicated staff members that do nothing but sit on the phone all day to the outgoing super funds to demand the rollovers done, because the outgoing super fund just delay it and delay it and delay it because they want to keep your money. Their liquidity crisis is real. People are pulling their money out of the system. It will get to a breaking point. So the super funds, just like the bank, are trying to go, oh, don't take your money out. So yeah, we have sometimes we've had one lady waiting for like 3 months. We've had to escalate hers to a Australian Financial Ombudsman complaint against the super fund for not releasing it. So, but other than that, we've got glowing replies to us and testimonials and everything about our services. So have a look at those, have a look at our website and what I've said about Amanda Carroll if you've got any doubts. But yeah, I'm happy to talk to anyone about what really happened there. Got nothing to hide. Nothing to hide at all.
And Phil and Rob, back to the start. It's a beautiful thing about live shows. They're available for you to watch after we've finished. Just email me, Phil, if you fall exactly into the category that we've been discussing tonight. So email me, carl@vofhq.com. Tell us where you are and approximately what you've got. And Cass will be in touch. We're going to try and line you up with some people in your area and bring you together. And from there, it'll be up to you guys to decide whether or not you can invest them.
Carl, you're breaking up a bit.
I'm sorry.
Carl's breaking up a bit, but I'm just going to say something else. There's Sunflower is talking about private trusts. Sunflower, happy to have a chat with you. If you want to email Carl and he can introduce me to you about my thoughts on private trusts. I think quite a few people out there selling the private trusts are taking you for a bit of a ride.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions down here I can add in very quickly. And I can certainly hook you and Sunflower up for questions or more answers about the trusts. Sunflower, I've noticed that too. Teenagers can't count cash.
Mine can. They're very good at it because they take it whenever they see it. I handed cash over to a girl the other day and she had to give me like $14.70 change. And it was almost beyond her being able to figure out how to count it out into your hand. Like the machine gave it to her. It told her $14.70. So she's got $14.70 in her hand, but then she didn't quite. I said, "Oh, is that the right change?" Just to see if she knew how to count it, and had no idea, absolutely no idea. So yeah, that's what the machine said. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Just one last thing, Carl. I was also going to talk about small balances. There are other ways of getting super out. Someone's just brought it up in the chat. They're very, very, very restrictive, but just for the sake of mentioning them, and on my YouTube channel, I have a whole hour YouTube on this topic, which you can get it out for financial hardship, but it's really restrictive rules. You've got to be on Centrelink for 26 weeks and prove that you can't meet essential living costs. You can get it out for total and permanent incapacity when you can prove you can no longer work in a job of your calling, like a job of your skills. Terminal medical, you can get it out, which that's pretty sad. If you're dying, they'll actually let you have your super. Isn't that really nice of them? Yeah, that's about the only one where they just go, okay, you can have your super. Yeah, great. I'm dying.
Wow.
I've seen a lot of
Facebook ads recently. You can get your teeth fixed using your super.
Yeah, and that's the other one. Thank you. I knew I was missing one. The other one is medical. So if you have urgent, so even with your teeth, your dentistry, it's got to be proved that you're in like severe pain, and your doctor and your dentist sign off on it to say that you have to have this work done. You can't just go and get you clean and everything. But yeah, medical, other things like a operation that you have to have that you can't afford. There are other ways of getting your super out. And anyone over 60 and retired can simply take it. So there are other ways, but as I said, my YouTube channel, Cass Smith, if you subscribe, you get to see the new videos as they come out. But yeah, there's a whole hour there on other ways of getting your super out. If you think you fit any of those categories, go and have a look at that video.
All right. Excellent stuff. Thanks for coming on tonight, especially after a big workout at the gym. And I'm so pleased that you didn't wind up coming in on crutches tonight. I think last time you went to the gym, you wound up doing a FFS valve and broke a fetlock or something just before you went to Mexico.
My calf muscle, yeah. Broke my foot just before Christmas, and then I cut my calf muscle in February. So I'm really, copping it. But no, I'm really trying to be mature. Trying to act like a mature person when I go to the gym now and not push it too hard.
And you're not kicking your instructor quite so hard in those classes?
No, I'm not doing that anymore.
All right. Well, listen, thanks very much for coming on tonight. People who want to get more information can contact me, Carl at vofhq.com, and I'll put you in touch with Cass. If you want to join together with others, similar mind, or see if you can at least, then just give us your details, location, a rough idea of the amount we're talking about, and Cass will start a spreadsheet and be in contact and see whether or not we can't put a few of you together and make this a reality. So thanks again, Cass. Really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Coming to Queensland to try and warm up a bit. And he says he who's sitting here in 3 layers of clothes, freezing his ass off at the moment.
It'll warm up when I come there. I bring the good weather.
Ain't that the truth? All right. Love your work. See you next week.
Bye.
That's Cass Smith from Freedom Financial Services. And thank you, folks. I hope they found that helpful tonight. You might have had a few questions. If you do, you can throw those to me too. But I guess the takeaway from this is, if you have tried to get your SMSF started previously, sent emails through to Cass and you got a reply saying, you haven't really got enough. Well, if you are still keen, this might be an opportunity for you. This might be the way forward. We're not doing financial advice here exactly. We are providing opportunities, but only you can make the decision of whether or not that's right for you. We'll give you all the advice we can, and it will be completely unbiased. It's just what's good for you, and only you can be the best decision maker in that regard. So bear that in mind with everything we've told you tonight and everything you'd like to do going forward. But if you want to explore this option, email me, carl@vofhq.com, and we will be able to help out. Still got some white hats for sale. If you want to get one of those, you can email me there as well. And if you want to get, a few of those, you can email me there as well. Going to have some news hopefully in the next 2 weeks about something else you might be able to get involved with the Voice of Freedom, but you might get a little dirty doing it. Just saying. Tomorrow, we've got another interesting show lined up tomorrow. It will be an early show tomorrow, folks. It will probably happen around 4 p.m. live, and Vince will be coming on for a bit of a chat then. The reason it's going to be an early show is because tomorrow morning, the old pirate and I will be jumping aboard a plane and flying north to Rockhampton. Now, if you want to see what we're doing, join me on Nun 2K. There will be a couple of little lives on there tomorrow morning, and probably during the day, let you know when we arrive. But you will be a little bit surprised in the way we are flying. So look forward to bringing that to you tomorrow morning. Rockhampton, of course, for big event on Saturday, the Rally for Freedom on Saturday, happening in the gardens there. John will be up speaking. I'm going to be streaming, so you'll be able to watch what happens there. Forest of the Fallen from, I think, around 11:30, and speeches from midday, as they are happening all over the place. I'm trying to get a hold of Darren Bergworth and see if I can get something from him that we can play in Rockhampton as well. Haven't managed to achieve that yet, but still got a day or two left. We'll get there, and Darren's very committed to doing it, so all be good. If you aren't already making plans, then please do so to go to a Rally for Freedom on Saturday, 12 o'clock, somewhere in a park near you. They are happening all over the place, and if you don't mind a little bit of a drive, then drive a little bit. Go and join one that's happening in a bigger centre if there isn't one happening near you. It's going to be a great day out. And yes, we're going to talk about all those sorts of things, cashless societies, mandates, and what's coming up. It's going to be an interesting time, folks. Don't let your freedom be taken from you. And certainly, if you can avoid it at all costs, my advice would be, at all times, keep your hands inside the car and steer well clear of the dickhead.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!